Welcome to Reddit Aliens. Creepypastas are good and all, but what's one creepy true story that happened to you or someone you know? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. A family member of mine got a super cheap house in a remote area. For a time, things just seemed like it took them a while to get used to being alone. Her ex-husband was incredibly abusive to her and her children. Family frequently came to check on her and noticed cracked windows and mirrors, but assumed it was her ex trying to get them back. It took her a while to admit some unnatural things were happening, like voices, items breaking, they removed all mirrors from the home, and banging noises on the back porch. The last straw was when we saw a small girl in a red dress in the kitchen window reflection during a visit. Not much history on the house, but she didn't have anywhere to go, so she tried making the best of it. She liked gardening, but all her plants died, so she moved plots a few times. The last time she tried planting corn, she found bones not far from the house. Police and forensics found the remains of 2 adults and 2 children. We're Native American and have a ceremony to help them find peace. After a house cleansing and proper burial, the incidents stopped completely. I never asked who they were or how they may have died. I posted this a few times, and even though it's not the creepiest thing I've gone through, I've got plenty of strange stories, this one is creepy in its own unique way. When I was a kid in 1992 or 1993, my parents had me take piano lessons. After some time with it, I had gone to my first recital at a church. We were living in a small town in Texas. I remember the church was packed full of people and I was nervous. I was in a room off stage with other kids, some my age and some older, each of us waiting our turn to perform. I was watching everyone perform and noticed several kids, when they were finished, walk through a door sitting at the back of the stage. I remember this vividly because I thought, so I go through that door when I'm done. So my turn comes up and I play Ode to Joy and bowed to the applause. I then walked to the door I saw a lot of the other kids go into. When I opened it up, and I'll never forget this, was what I thought was a large full-sized elephant covered in many different colored streamers and tassels with 2 children. One was standing next to the elephant, the other near the back, possibly standing on a ladder. It looked like I caught them in the middle of them putting the colorful streamers or whatever on the elephant. I also noticed there was no other door in or out of the room, and no way for an elephant or whatever to have gotten in there, unless the room was built around it. Both kids were looking at me with shocked expressions, and a feeling of, I shouldn't be seeing this, came over me, and I shut the door. When I shut the door, the audience, including my parents, were all laughing at my mistake. An interesting thing about this is a lot of it is on videotape, but you can't see inside the room, but you can clearly see the shock and confusion on my face. To this day, I still don't fully understand what I saw, and it baffles me, and even creeps me out to this day. Okay, in the comments below, would you have gone through the door? I think I would have.
When I was around 8, my parents liked to go to the garage sales a lot, so they'd often buy random toys for me. One time they came home with this huge teddy bear, like the ones they sell at Walmart for Valentine's, and it was my new favorite thing. I'd set it next to my bed on a trunk thing I had when I wasn't playing with it, but I soon got something new and moved on. For a long time it just sat there, and I remember being uncomfortable when I was in my room asleep or changing because I felt like it was always staring at me with its big beady eyes. One day I looked closer at its eyes and I saw what I thought was a camera. This could just be my little kid imagination since I was already creeped out by it. But then again, when I told my mom, I remember she said in a serious tone how she shouldn't have brought it from her, owner of the yard sale. Either way, teddy bears creep me out now. My friends were standing in front of an abandoned building about 10 floors high at night, and they were having a bet on which of them can get inside. Take the stairs to the top floor, come out to the window, and wave at the group from up there. As they were talking about it and pointing at the specific window, someone came out of the window and waved at them. When I was younger, me and my dad lived with my uncle, who had a 2-story house with a basement. Sometimes my uncle would ask me to get something from down there, and I swear every time I would go down there, I would always hear a faint, "Hey." I would jolt back up the stairs. I told my dad and uncle about it, but they never believed me. Until one day, my dad went down there and heard the same thing. He walked back upstairs and grabbed his gun and aimed it at the door while on the phone with the cops. Turns out, There was a man that had been living in our basement for 2 years and been stealing some of our food. My dad told me about something that happened when I was young, maybe 3 years old. One night, he was woken up in the middle of the night by a really strange noise, only he heard it. He swears it was the sound of a man pretending to make a noise like a baby. So, a grown-ass man making strange over-the-top crying like you'd imagine a baby would make, literally, wah, wah, wah. Naturally, this freaked him out. He went to downstairs to check on my brother, who was sound asleep. My parents slept in the attic. Then, he went in my room and found that I'd been sick in the night and had started to choke in my sleep. So he sat me up, cleared my airway, and I was upset but absolutely fine. If whatever it was he heard hadn't made the noise, then who knows what would have happened to me. He swears it wasn't me he heard. It was a male, deep voice pretending to cry like a baby. Played with a Ouija board, here we go, and caught a laugh on my phone before I started asking questions. My apartment was haunted after that. One night, after my buddies left, I heard my mom call my name. The funny thing is that I lived alone. I called my dad and asked if I could come over to sleep. Moved to a different state, not because of the Ouija board. I was good for a little while. Then my dreams got real bad. Found some witch doctor, and she gave me a bunch of stuff to cleanse myself and my room. I still have the recorded laugh on my phone. You know, I often think that my crusade against Ouija boards is actually backfiring, and it's causing some of you to actually go and buy and use it. Don't do it. When I was 6 or 7, I was out on one of my trails. I live in a dear rural Alberta when I started hearing a clicking noise coming from all around me. It sounded like electricity clicking but louder. It seemed to follow me out on the trail as I was running as fast as I could. It always seems to follow me when I'm alone. Like when I'm cutting wood, I begin to hear a clicking coming from everywhere. But the scary thing is, every time I say, "All right, I don't need this today," or "Please be quiet," it stops on the spot. Okay. So when I was really little, we moved into a new house, and I had this room near the front with lacy white curtains. Every night I'd have this reoccurring nightmare of this lady walking at the side of my house to the window and watching me through the curtains. I called her my demon lady. She was tall and freakishly skinny, with really pale skin and black eyes and black hair tied up in a tight bun. She also wore blood red lipstick and had high heels. She scared me. She would say the same line over and over every time. "I'm coming for you." My dad vaguely remembers hearing night terror screams from me. One day, we were renovating the house and changed the curtains. I never saw her again. The main thing I remember from the dreams was the sound of her heels on the bricks outside. A former employer made me go on a work trip alone with her under false pretenses, took me 5 hours away from home to a conference, and proceeded to try to recruit me into a far-right Christian cult that was operating under the guise of chiropractic seminars. Not exactly creepypasta type creepy, but believe me, it was terrifying. Not really creepy, might just be a weird coincidence, but I'm not sure I want to know what happened. When I was young, I had this sort of sleep paralysis demon. It was just in every nightmare I had. He'd be watching from all sides as I drowned or was killed by a drone, etc. My head referred to him as Haymitch, which was weird since I never, and still have never, met a Haymitch. I didn't even know it was an actual name until I read The Hunger Games, but he was there all the time. When I was like 8 or 9, I got myself a dreamcatcher. It was from one of those crystal shops where you can buy crystals, surprise, little statues, and the ceiling of them is always covered in them. So naturally, we went in. I looked up and insisted on getting one. It was quite small, but a lovely yellow color that matched my room really well. And I swear, from that day, I never got a nightmare, like at all. I was convinced it actually worked, but part of me just thought, it's probably just my subconscious thinking it'll protect me. Then one day, when I was 16, I had a friend over, one of those crystal enthusiasts, and she saw my dream catcher and told me it wouldn't work because it's placed over my feet, to which I told her the story, as she moved it over my head so it would work better. And I kid you not, that very week, I get 3 nightmares. Well, the first one was an ordinary flaming baby trying to kill me, with Haymitch knocking on the door of the room the whole time, and the third involved me accidentally unleashing a squeaky toy to kill everyone. And when I went outside to see what was happening, guess who was at the end of the road watching? Anyways, the second was the creepiest by a mile. I was just in my room and the phone rang. I picked it up and it's Markiplier, who says I've won some competition, to which I reply, "No, you're not Mark Kipler, you're scamming me." Then there's a pause, so get up from my seat and look through my bedroom door to see a familiar silhouette from the bathroom, as from my phone a long distorted voice lowly sits, "Why did you I woke up absolutely terrified, and that dude's still in my nightmares to this day. So the moral of the story, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Was sailing on open sea, got closer and closer to this huge white wall out of nowhere, finally came up close to it and sailed through. When finally inside, it turned out to be the thickest fog I've ever experienced in my life, with approximately 40 feet visibility. I was hoping not to crash with another boat, and that all close by vessel were on radar. Luckily, everything went good. It was scary, but unbelievably beautiful. My husband saw an angel while walking home after uncovering a box full of pictures of little boys in various states of undress at his friend's grandparents' house when he was a child. The grandfather was long dead, and the wife was thriving without the prick. She even went as far as to say he was in hell at one time. He didn't understand the dude was a pedophile at the young age. He just felt very uncomfortable over it and decided to walk home. And that's when he saw the angel. It was a man in all white bright clothing, specifically a hoodie, just loitering in front of a house on the corner of the block he just left. My husband looked at his feet for half a second, and the bright white hoodie dude was gone. Nowhere to run, no doors open, no alleyway to dip down. It creeps me the F out when I think about it. So I don't live alone, but I am home alone a lot, and every time I will hear noises from underneath the stairs. We have a door to the stairs leading to the bedrooms, or just in that area. Usually a bag will have tipped over, or the stairs will crack, and it's terrifying. It happened once when I was with a friend, and it sounded as if someone broke a plate there. Nothing was broken, but we left the house quickly to just walk around. In my freshman year of high school, I saw a very cartoonish-looking man. I was in the cafeteria, and none of my friends had the same period, so I sat alone. I was eating my lunch with my earbuds in while watching Family Guy. Not sure why, but I had this urge to look to my right. When I did, I saw a man dressed in all white. He wore a suit, a top hat, and a monocle. His smile was very cartoonish and inhumanly wide. This man carried a lunch tray and was walking toward me. When he reached me, he sat on the left of me and held my hand. I froze and didn't look at him for a while. His hand felt warm, and I could see him eating from the corner of my eye. When I looked, he was gone, and the warmth was gone. I was spooked for the rest of the school day. That's it. When walking through a forest one time, I stumbled across torn-up girls' clothing and a computer. Tried to get the computer working myself, but couldn't. Eventually got a friend to help me out with it who is miles better with computers, and found this computer belonged to a man who we think is responsible for causing 3 girls to go missing. The computer itself also had pictures of the girls who went missing. Nothing conclusive has come up yet because we still don't know what happened to the girls, but he and I did turn over the computer to police recently, so maybe something is going to come out of it. Still though. My daughter lost a baby tooth. She was going to a sleepover at a neighbor's house that night, so she placed the tooth on a table in the family room. She would put it under her pillow the next night. Well, the next day my wife and daughter are sitting on the couch watching TV, and I was sitting at the computer desk, and we hear a very loud pop. Those two are screaming, and I turn and ask what that was. The tooth sitting on the table snapped in half. I still don't get that one.